You want a career that will work and bring peace of mind, but you don't know what to choose. You are not confused because you lack options. You are confused because you have too many careers to choose from, and no one warned you that abundance can paralyze. You wake up with 10 possible versions of your future staring at you. Tech, law, business, content creation, academia, remote work, migration, entrepreneurship, a safe job, a passion job, a prestige job. Every path looks viable. Every path looks dangerous as well. Every path looks like it could either save you or ruin your career. And the more intelligent you are, the worse it gets. Because you don't just see options, you see consequences. You simulate outcomes. You imagine regret before it happens. You analyze long-term trajectories. You compare salary curves. You compare lifestyle flexibility. You compare status signals. You compare identity implications. And then you're helpless. You tell yourself you're still thinking, but you're not thinking anymore. You're looping. This is not laziness, it's cognitive overload. Your brain is designed to compare a few options, not redesign your entire identity from scratch. When choices multiply beyond your cognitive bandwidth, the prefrontal cortex starts overfiring. Instead of clarity, you get rumination. Instead of a strategy, you get analysis paralysis. You start asking the wrong question, which is the best career? Not question is the trap. There is no objectively best career. There is only the career that aligns with who you are becoming and the constraints you are willing to tolerate. But you don't know who you are becoming yet, and that uncertainty terrifies you. So you stall. You research endlessly. You watch career advice videos. You read threads. You compare stories. You ask friends. You ask mentors. You even ask ChatGPT. You collect perspectives the way anxious people collect insurance policies. And the more you collect, the less decisive you feel. Because what you're actually afraid of is this: if you choose one path, you kill the others. You don't want to kill potential versions of yourself. You want to keep them alive just in case. But here's the cognitive reality. Keeping all doors open is itself a decision. It's the decision to delay growth. When you don't choose, time chooses for you. While you are comparing, someone else is compounding. A career strategy for someone like you is not about finding the perfect option. It is about managing cognitive load and making decisions in a way that your brain can handle. First, you must understand something brutal. Clarity does not precede action. Clarity follows action. You think you need certainty before you move, but psychologically, certainty is often the byproduct of commitment. When you step into a path, your brain reduces cognitive dissonance by aligning your identity with your decision. The more effort you invest, the more meaningful it becomes. This is called the effort justification effect. You start to believe in what you build. But when you hover outside every path, you never trigger that alignment. You stay fragmented. You say, "I don't know what I want." But if we're honest, what you mean is, "I don't know what I'm willing to sacrifice." Because every career requires sacrifice. The corporate path may give you stability, but demand structure. The creative path may give you freedom, but demand uncertainty. Entrepreneurship may give you autonomy, but demand risk tolerance. Academia may give you depth, but demand patience. Migration may give you an opportunity, but demand identity reconstruction. You are not choosing between good and bad, you are choosing between different discomforts, and your brain avoids discomfort. So it keeps searching for a mythical option that has upside without trade-offs. That option does not exist. Here's the cognitive shift you need. Stop asking, "What do I want to become?" Start asking, "What problems am I willing to solve for the next 5 years?" Careers are not titles, they are problem-solving commitments. When you frame your decision around problems instead of prestige, something changes. You move from abstract fantasy to operational reality. You don't need to know who you will be at 45. You need to know what skills you want to compound now. Because career advantage is built on compounding skill stacks.
If you spend 5 focused years in one domain, your competence multiplies. If you spend 5 years sampling randomly without depth, your confidence erodes. You fear being trapped, but ironically, depth is what creates mobility. A shallow generalist is replaceable. A skilled hybrid is powerful. This is where strategic constraint comes in. You must intentionally reduce your options, not because they are bad, but because your brain cannot execute on infinite possibilities. Pick 3, not 10, not 7, 3, and then test them aggressively, not by imagining them, by experiencing them. Internships, freelance projects, side experiments, conversations with people actually living that life. You need practical exposure and not theory. Your imagination is exaggerating both the upside and the downside. Only experience recalibrates perception. And here is another uncomfortable truth. You will not feel 100% confident before choosing. If you are waiting for emotional certainty, you will wait forever. Decision-making research shows that satisfaction is less about choosing the best option and more about committing to your choice afterward. Maximizers, people who try to find the absolute best option, tend to be less satisfied than satisficers, people who choose an option that meets their criteria and then move forward. You probably are a maximizer. You think that with enough research you can eliminate regret. You can't. Regret is not eliminated by perfect information. It is reduced by meaningful engagement. If you commit deeply, even a suboptimal choice becomes a powerful learning asset. But if you stay on the fence, even a good choice feels fragile. Another reason you are stuck is identity diffusion.
When you have multiple talents and interests, your identity is broad but not consolidated. You can see yourself succeeding in many fields. That flexibility is a strength, but without structure, it becomes fragmentation. You need an anchor. An anchor is not a prison, it is a center of gravity. It could be a core skill like analytical thinking, or communication, or design, or systems building, or research, or teaching, or negotiation. Instead of picking a job title, pick a core capability you want to master. Then choose a career environment that lets you exercise it repeatedly. This shifts your focus from external labels to internal growth. For example, if you realize you enjoy solving ambiguous problems, you might thrive in consulting, startups, or research. If you enjoy structured progression, corporate hierarchies might suit you. If you enjoy autonomy and creation, building something might energize you. You are not choosing a destiny, you are choosing a training ground. And training grounds can change. Another cognitive trap you face is social comparison distortion. You scroll and see someone your age launching a startup. Someone else is entering medical school. Someone else is moving abroad. Someone else is building a personal brand. Everyone seems decisive. Everyone seems ahead. But you are comparing your internal doubts to their external highlight reel. You don't see their anxiety, their second-guessing, their fear. You only see movement, and movement looks like certainty, but often it is simply courage in the presence of uncertainty. You are waiting to feel ready. They moved while still unsure. The difference is not intelligence, it is tolerance for ambiguity. You can train that tolerance. Start by shrinking the time horizon. Stop trying to choose your forever career. Choose your next 2 years. 2 years is psychologically manageable. It feels finite. It reduces the perceived risk. Tell yourself, for the next 24 months, I will go deep into this. That frame changes everything. Because now you're not locking yourself into a lifetime identity, you're running a structured experiment, and experiments are allowed to fail. When you frame your career as a series of deliberate experiments, failure becomes data. You didn't waste 2 years, you gathered information about your preferences, your resilience, your strengths, and your limits. That information compounds too. You also need to understand your fear of missing out.
FOMO is amplified when you have high potential. You know you could succeed in multiple arenas, so choosing one feels like underutilizing your breadth. But here's the paradox. Depth in one domain often creates leverage to explore others later. The person who becomes excellent at one thing gains credibility, capital, and confidence. That leverage can be transferred. The person who stays average at many things gains none. You are afraid of narrowing, but narrowing is how power is built, and power creates optionality later. Right now, your optionality is theoretical. It exists in your imagination, but without depth, it has no market value. You must convert theoretical potential into practical leverage. That requires constraint. You may also be entangled in external expectations, family, society, culture, prestige hierarchies. Maybe you feel pressure to choose something that sounds impressive, or stable, or aligned with your degree, and that noise clouds your internal signal. So you oscillate between what excites you and what impresses others. That tension drains cognitive energy. You need to separate two questions. What will people respect, and what will sustain my effort when no one is watching? Because long-term career success is less about initial prestige and more about sustained engagement. You cannot outwork boredom forever. If a path chronically drains you, discipline will not save you long-term. Energy matters. Not momentary excitement, but sustainable engagement. Ask yourself, when I imagine spending 10 hours immersed in this field, do I feel resistance or curiosity? Curiosity is a better predictor of long-term mastery than raw talent. Another cognitive barrier you face is perfectionistic identity protection. If you never commit, you never risk being mediocre. As long as you are still exploring, your potential remains intact. But once you commit and struggle, your self-image takes a hit. So staying undecided protects your ego. It keeps your fantasy self alive. But growth requires confronting your current limits. You will feel incompetent in the beginning. That is unavoidable. Competence is built through tolerated incompetence. If you cannot endure being bad at something for a while, you will never become exceptional. Career strategy for someone with too many choices is less about intelligence and more about emotional regulation. Can you regulate the anxiety of narrowing? Can you regulate the discomfort of early incompetence? Can you regulate the uncertainty of not knowing if you chose right? If you can, you win. Here is the final cognitive reframe. You are not choosing a single irreversible road. You are choosing a direction of compounding. Life is more flexible than your fear suggests. Many people pivot. Many people layer skills. Many people redesign their trajectory. But pivots are powerful when built on something solid. So stop searching for the perfect map. Pick a direction that aligns with your current values, your tolerable discomfort, and a skill you're willing to compound. Then commit with intensity. Not casually, not half-heartedly. Intensity creates feedback. Feedback creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. You don't need to eliminate doubt. You need to move with it. Your mind will always generate alternative scenarios. That's what intelligent minds do. The goal is not to silence them. The goal is to choose despite them. Because at the end of the day, indecision is not neutral. It's expensive. It costs time, it costs momentum, it costs self-trust. Every small decisive action rebuilds self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of career confidence. You are not stuck because you lack options. You are stuck because you are trying to protect yourself from regret, discomfort, and identity loss. But the only real regret comes from unused effort. So choose. Not because it's perfect, but because it's aligned enough. Choose your next training ground. Choose your next 2 years. Choose your skill to compound. And then let action teach you what thinking never will.